Hello, this is Diane with Diane's Blue Hearts and Butterflies.com. And I had someone that was asking me to show the faux patina technique again that I had done several years ago. And so I created some cards to show that technique. I wanted to focus more on the techniques and giving hints, tips, and everything more than just the cards, but I do want to kind of go over some of the items that I used. I used the Thoughtful Expressions stamp set. I also used the Spotlight on Nature stamp set and dies. This is a bundle right now in the current 2024-25 catalog. And I utilized in the two different cards these dies that are in here, and there are several different ones, and it's a really great set to have. I also utilized some retired product that I had just to focus on the technique, but I loved this swirl from the Parisian dies, and so I used that. I also got out my Wild Rose dies that are retired to use this little detailed strip here. And then I utilized Softly Sophisticated as well as time-worn type embossing folders. So that's kind of the product that I used along with the colors and everything. You can find details about the dimensions for the card on my website at dianesblueheartsandbutterflies.com. And I'll kind of go through things here as well. But like I said, I wanted to focus more on the techniques and stuff for the cards. But let me go through kind of what I needed or what I had for the different kits. So with the Hummingbird Patina card, I used the Summer Splash cardstock, the 8.5 by 5.5, and then I scored it in half at 4 1/4. I have two basic white cardstocks that are 5 1/4 by 4. One of them's for the inside and one of them's for the patina technique on the outside. I have a 5 1/4 by 1.5 copper foil, as well as a 3" by 2" copper foil that I used for die cutting those elements out. A 4 by 4 basic white cardstock for the Spotlight on Nature circle, and then 3 by 3 basic white cardstock. This I used to stamp the hummingbird and color it, and then I cut it out. Then there's a little sentiment strip that's 3 inches by 3/4 inches, 6 inches of a white ribbon, and then 5 inches of a copper ribbon. And then I just used some gems to decorate the front. And then that is for this card here. And then the other card for the Spotlight on Nature butterfly, that one I'm using copper, this one I'm using gold. With the patina technique, you can use any kind of metallics that you have. But again, it's basically the same dimensions, the 5.5 by 8.5. This one I did Melon Mambo, scored in half at 4 1/4. Again, with the two 5 1/4 by 4" white. This one I did have a 4 by 4 basic white cardstock for one of the circles, and then a 2 by 2" basic white cardstock for another circle, 3 inches by 2 inches for a gold gold swirl. Then there's a 2" by 1 1/4" basic white. I can just use your scrap. This is what I stamped the butterfly on, and then I colored it to cut out. And then I had some white and gold ribbon that I just tied a bow. This was an 8" piece of ribbon. And then I used some gold gems that I had for that one. So let me kind of pull in this stuff to kind of show and give some tips and hints and everything. With the technique. What you're going to want to do is apply a, let me grab that again. Where did I put it? You're going to want to apply a background color to your folder, and that gives you something that is in the background. So on the folders, you have a flat side that actually has where the impression goes down, and then you have the raised side that is actually what pushes the white cardstock down through. And so you're going to apply your ink to the flat side. And the best way to apply that, and what did I do with my ink pad? I had it just a moment ago. Let me find it. There it is. So I used crumb cake on this particular card as my background. The best way that I find to apply the ink to this is with a brayer. Mine are very old. I've had them for decades. But you just kind of run your brayer over the ink pad to get ink on it, and then you just kind of run that over the inside of your folder. And just want to make sure that you get it everywhere that you're going to want to have your cardstock be. It's a good idea to do this with some grid paper or some kind of scratch paper under there to catch that. Then you will lay your cardstock piece on here. You probably want to pay attention to which direction that your folder is going and which direction you want that to be. Then you're going to create a sandwich. The sandwich is important because you can break folders if you do not do it the correct way. So I use the base plate, which is number 1, the folder with the paper in it, and then the plate number 4. And then I'm just going to run that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine very quickly. And then when you pull that out, you have that in the background for that color. You're going to want to make sure that you go ahead and use something to clean off your brayer and your folder. I'm just going to set it aside right now. I'll clean it off in just a moment. But that is basically what you're going to want to do for that. And then once you get that part done, you're going to want to apply your other inks to create your background. And you're kind of wanting a mottled look with the coloring that you like. It's usually the background and then a couple of different colors. And these can vary just depending on what look you're going for or color scheme. But one of the best ways to do it is with the blending brushes. You can also use sponges and sponge these on. But if you do have the blending brushes, you're just going to want to kind of put a little bit of ink on there. Start off on some grid paper and work your way on. It's best to start with a little bit of ink and keep adding, rather than to put a whole bunch of ink on here that then has to be cleaned up later. And with the blending brushes, I find that you just kind of use a little bit of tapping or a little bit of pressure, but you don't want to really get it way down in these bristles because it's harder to clean. Let me just apply another, just so that you kind of get an idea of the different things. And you just do it randomly on the card front. And I'm not going to continue. I've done one ahead of time so that you can kind of see what that's going to look like. And the best way to clean these, you don't have to wash them. You can just run them and rub them on grid paper until you don't see color anymore. The one color or the brighter the color, darker, the more that you're going to probably have to clean. I noticed with Melon Mambo that I just had to really do a lot of cleaning with that one. And just so that you kind of know, on the other card for the butterfly, That one I used, the background I used peach pie to create that, let me go, there it is, the background. And then I just sponged Melon Mambo and Pebbled Path randomly on the top of that to create that. And then you're gonna let this kind of set over to the side and dry. And so I kind of took that opportunity to do all the cutting and stuff when it came to doing that. I stamped the inside piece with one of the images from that Thoughtful Expressions set. I did that in Azure Afternoon, because that is one of the colors. I used Azure Afternoon and Summer Splash and Crumb Cake on this. And then I went ahead and cut out the circle die, the swirl, the detailed, and then I went ahead and stamped Enjoy Your Day from that stamp set in the Pebbled Path ink. And then I also stamped the hummingbird in the Pebbled Path ink. With the coloring on the butterfly, I used this watercolor pencils. And I used, I'm going to get them out here. I used the Night of Navy, the Bermuda Bay, and the Crushed Curry. And you just, you can do this with markers. You can do this with, you know, if you wanted to use blender pens or whatever you want. You just color however you want it to look. And then with the watercolor pencils, if you don't really want to have it be a watercolor, they do we do have what's called blender pens. And these really work well at blending those watercolor lines without it looking like a watercolor picture. And I just kind of stayed with the darker color first. With these, again, you just have to, you just kind of wipe them off on your grid paper to get the colors to get off, to help clean the brushes. And you just do that in between the different colors so that it doesn't appear too mottled. But that does create and give kind of more of a colored look with the watercolored pencils. This is a great product. I've had them for long time. And oh, I got that out on purpose. The other, this one I took and fussy cut that out to put on the front of the card. But I did take the Summer Splash after I stamped this, and I just kind of rubbed this sentiment strip with the Summer Splash so that it just kind of gives it a little bit of an extra coloring, but it's not a solid Summer Splash cardstock piece. And you just, again, apply as much as you want, and it's always good to start small or with light ink and build and add as you go so that you don't get way too much. And it's always good, again, to start on the paper here and come over. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a big, huge splotch on your paper, and then you're probably not going to be happy with it. And then again, you just wipe that off until it's clear. You can wash them, but then you have to allow them time to dry. So that is kind of what I did with the coloring on that card. The other card for the butterfly card, that one I took the inside and I stamped the leaf image from, this is the Spotlight on Nature. I did it in Granny Apple Green and Lemon Lime Twist. And then I took the Peach Pie and Daffodil Delight. So Peach Pie, I did the little spatters, and then the Daffodil Delight I did in the little grid, and then I stamped the message in the pebbled path, and that's what I put for the inside. I then took the larger circle and I went ahead and stamped the flowers in pebbled path, and then I colored them with the Stampin' Right markers. And I just got a variety of the different greens and yellows, and I had the pebbled path, and then I stamped the message in pebbled path on there. I stamped the butterfly on the small piece, and then I colored that with the markers. And then I took the Wink of Stella glitter pen and I added that to the wings. I'm not sure if the camera is catching that or not, but it really makes it pretty. And then again, I cut out the swirl to put on here, as well as having this bow. So let me show you real quick the kind of technique about, because this has been drying for a little while. Put those away. And then once I show you the technique, then we can put the cards together. So I've got a couple of different ones here. So I took the Versamark ink, and I just took a piece of the sponge and used that to dab here, and then I just kind of dabbed on the card front and just kind of randomly all over where I might want to have some of that metallic embossing powder, so that it this one I'm going to do the copper on here, and then you just sprinkle the embossing powder. I don't think that I don't know if we have copper anymore. Looks like I got too much. So the next thing to do is you can take a paintbrush and just kind of get some of the excess. Looks like I pushed a little too hard, but you just get some of this excess off, because you want it to be random, but you don't necessarily want it to be really thick. So let me put this one back. And the one thing, I have had these embossing powders for so long, they last quite a while because you don't use that much. And the other one that I'm going to do real quick is on this one. Let me try just a lighter hand, see if it can go. And I apologize for the coughing. I have been trying to get well. This one, I used gold embossing powder on it. And again, it looks like I got it too much. So I'm going to use my paintbrush again to kind of just mush it around and get it more random. All right. And then I do put these away before I start using my heat tool, because I don't want to blow this around everywhere. And the one thing about this, once the Versamark is there and it's holding the powder, you're not in a big rush to get it done. But let me move this off to the side, and then I'm going to bring over a heat tool. Just a moment. The one thing about the heat tool is it is kind of noisy, so I'm going to try to talk now before I do it. But you want to turn it on and let it get a little bit warm for a little bit, and then you want to keep it moving so that it doesn't burn anything. I don't really want it to burn my table, so I'm going to try to hold it up, but I'm going to have to move my fingers, because you don't want to burn your fingers either, so be careful. So I'm going to turn it on and let it heat up a little bit so that it can be pretty warm. And then I'm going to start applying that heat. And embossing powder is one of those things that is just it's like magic. And when it starts changing and heating up, it really gets that metallic coloring. Try to get this to go. There, it's finally starting to. What you're trying to do is just kind of get a metallic patina on the paper that kind of helps it look like aged metal. And I've done this with several different kinds of cards, different color schemes, different embossing folders, stamp sets, all kinds of stuff. And then we're also going to cover this with some stuff. So let me do the copper one now. It does work a lot faster once the heat tool is hot. Starts turning this a lot faster. Turn that around. Apologize, it just takes a little while. And one thing, like I explained to the people at my class, if you feel like you didn't get enough on there, once you've set it with the heat, you allow it to cool back down. You can apply some more and do it again if you want a little bit more of that metallic look. So that's kind of the technique that shows you how to do that. So I've got one of these that's almost ready to kind of put together. So that's where I was just going to kind of show you and give some more tips on this. So with the inside, you just apply that to the inside. Once you've got that ready, I have this embossing powder everywhere. I heard a tip from someone before that they keep those Swiffer dusters handy in their craft room, that they can wipe these things up and get them up. Then on the front, on this particular card, I don't have any ribbon that needs to be put on it, but on the other card, I did take a piece of white ribbon and wrapped it around this piece after I applied the, I put on this strip, glued that on with glue dots, and then I put the white ribbon around here and just glued it to the back. And then I put the rest of the card together, glued this onto the card front, and then I tied that little copper ribbon just around that white ribbon here next to the sign. Now that little sentiment, I did take and kind of angle some cuts to just give it a little bit of different look. So that's something to, oh, and this got caught. This actually goes out here. So the other tip, once I'm just going to get this one on here. You do need to be kind of careful if you're using the Stampin' Seal Plus. Sometimes with embossed pieces that have been run through an embossing folder, the fibers are kind of loose, and so sometimes it tries to tear. So if you see it doing that, just stop immediately and then try to go to a different area to apply that glue. Or you can use white glue, or you can use tear and tape, other methods. Then on this card, don't forget to stamp your envelopes. It gives it a really nice look when you do that, to add to that. So bring this one back over here. I just applied the circle directly down to this. The Stampin' Seal Plus it's going to have a hard time sticking to that. So basically, I just used the Stampin' glue dots and just applied them several places around the back of this circle that I had already colored and done. And it just uses several. And then you apply this kind of in that top area. And you can do this as dark or light as you want. Like you can see this one, I didn't put as much of the pink in the pebbled path, the Mellow Mambo and the pebbled path. I kept more of the background showing. So it's whatever you like as your preference. And then this piece I wanted to pop up. So I used dimensionals on the back of it. And I wanted there to be kind of a little bit of floating look to the swirl, so I wanted it behind these dimensionals. And then I kind of had a little bit of a hard time getting it to stick on there. So after I put this on where I wanted it, I went back and used some more glue dots and applied those to kind of where those dimensionals are, so that it gives it a little bit more sticky where it was covered up by that swirl. So just do that. And then apply this down in this area. Then I took this ribbon bow, and I applied glue dot behind there. I did a couple of those so that it just has a little bit to hang on to. And then I kind of put that where the flowers are, at the bottom of the flowers. Oh, my glue dot stuck to my finger. Put that on here. And then I used dimensionals for the back of my butterfly. I kind of used my fingers, and you could use a bone folder to kind of create some lift or whatever you want to call. This is fussy cut out because there aren't any dies to match this, but it's fairly easy when it comes to fussy cutting. The trick is to hold the scissors in one place and to move the paper. I'll kind of show that a little bit. But then I just applied my butterfly here, and then I used some of my retired gems that kind of went with this, and applied those to here. One thing is the Take Your Pick tool is a wonderful tool, and it has so many different attachments that you can use. Not just applying gems and things like that, but I also used this attachment to help get the small pieces out of the intricate dies. Oh, I'm having trouble with this one. Normally I would have a different head on here. Let me do that real quick here. Come on. Of course they don't want to work when you're trying to show somebody. Where did that one go? There it went. And apply that one over here. Come on. They never want to work when you want them to. All right. So there is that. And you can use what you've got. Use, if you like something new that's in the catalog, use that. Whatever it is. But here is what I was saying about the fussy cutting, because there's not a die to go with this stamp set either. But the key is to just keep your scissors still and to move your paper. And that is just kind of the trick of how to do that. You move the paper and just hold your scissors, and it makes it go a lot easier and faster and better. And you don't have to cut out very intricate, every single little bitty bump. It doesn't have to be that intricate. You can if you want to, but it doesn't have to be. And people still will think it is such a wonderful card, and how'd you do that? I get that so many times. That looks so pretty, and how did you do that? Well, the key is just having all the right tools and knowing how to do this kind of stuff. And I love watching other demonstrators and getting ideas from them as well. Thankfully, there are so many out there that are willing to share their great talent of how to do this kind of stuff. And that's where I learned the patina technique to begin with, was by watching the other demonstrators. And I did this, like, gosh, it's probably close to 5 or 10, at least 5 years to maybe 10 years ago to do that. If you want, you can even add Wink of Stella to this one and apply it there as well. And it can be any coloring. You can use whatever colors. I think I used a brown maybe here on this one, as well as the gems. But just so that you kind of get that idea of what it looks like or could look like, that is basically the technique and how to do these. And I hope that you will check out my blog over on dianesblueheartsandbutterflies.com. Also, if you like the videos, you can check out other ones that I have. I would love to have you like and share my videos. It helps grow my channel, as well as if you would like to know when I'm uploading another video, click that bell icon and you'll be notified when I do that. I have a lot of other ideas that I've shared on my blog. One, I guess, good thing out of COVID is it taught me how to do a lot of things, got me out of my comfort zone to do some things. So I started adding a bunch of stuff over there. And there's other ideas. And if you don't have a demonstrator and you like some of this stuff and you'd like to purchase, I hope that you will shop with me through my website. And hope you had fun learning this new technique and that it'll be a good one for you. Thank you.